Thank you so much for being here, Allie. I'll let you take the mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to BayREN for inviting me to join you today. And I want to just upvote or uplift UCLA's great work. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing information about that, including the new shade map, which my office is hoping to use in some of our upcoming work. So I serve as policy director within the LA County Chief Sustainability Office, and I look forward to sharing information about the county's innovative indoor heat safety work. And first, I'll start just by providing some more context about my office as well as the county's interest in heat safety. So you can go to the next slide. A little bit about the LA region. We have about 10 million residents here, with about 1 million of those in the unincorporated areas that, folks that receive services and are regulated directly by county government. County also provides a mix of services on a contract basis to a lot of the cities within the region as well. My office was established a little less than 10 years ago to provide comprehensive and coordinated policy support and guidance to our county board of supervisors, county departments, the unincorporated areas, and the region as a whole. We really try to partner and support cities quite a bit as well. Next slide. My office's first charge when we were established, again, a little less than 10 years ago, was to develop a regional sustainability plan that would present a vision for how to create a sustainable region with key long-term targets, such as achieving carbon neutrality by the year 2045. The Our County Plan, that's the name of our sustainability plan, was adopted by our Board of Supervisors in 2019, and it covers a wide range of topics from energy to housing to food access, and it centers equity throughout its 12 overarching goals. That's what you see listed on the slide, and we also have more than 150 actions categorized within those goals. Next slide. After the adoption of the Our County Plan in 2019, one of the very first actions from that plan that my office undertook directly, as opposed to, many of the actions are assigned to departments, but one that my office directly did was a climate vulnerability assessment. We worked with a cross-disciplinary group of researchers along with county colleagues and community organizations to identify the impacts that climate change has already brought to the region, and also what risks we can anticipate in the future at a level of detail, more granular than we might see in the state assessment. So through that assessment and through some subsequent research, we've seen that rising heat is a major concern for a lot of our communities. And I don't need to go through the whole range of impacts that are listed on this slide, but suffice it to say that health and social harms are really at the top of the list here. Next slide. We published that that climate vulnerability assessment in 2021, and it wasn't long after that the Board of Supervisors directed us and the Department of Public Health to begin looking into how to help keep people safe in the home environment. There had previously been a motion at the City of LA to potentially look at requiring landlords to provide air conditioning. We encouraged the board of the county to consider an alternative approach that we'd heard had been established in Arizona, which is performance-based rather than prescriptive, where the landlord has the responsibility to ensure that the unit is capable of staying under a maximum temperature, whether that's achieved through an air conditioner or simply through passive cooling features and strategies. We do see that there can be, some potential tension between our goal to keep residents safe from heat and our goal to mitigate climate change, but we believe a thoughtful policy approach can balance those goals. And we saw the performance-based indoor heat safety goal as one that could help reduce the potential greenhouse gas emissions and energy impacts of an ordinance aimed at cooling, which would both be good for the environment, of course, and potentially also for renters whose electric bills won't rise as much if they're able to take advantage of passive cooling. So in response to that initial motion from the board, we provided some basic information about what this type of policy could look like based on, how it has been done elsewhere. Also in 2022, this issue of indoor heat safety started getting more attention from the state legislature. There was a bill directing the State Department of Housing and Community Development to develop policy recommendations those were sort of framed as ensuring that residential dwellings can maintain a safe temperature. Again, the sort of performance-based approach. So HCD established a cross-sector work group to support the development of those recommendations, and that work group included community organizations, building and energy experts and officials, and more. And HCD released their own recommendations recently, derived from some of the input from the work group, which were somewhat focused on establishing standards for new construction. So, the state hasn't really taken a strong stance on how to tackle existing buildings, which of course are, the biggest concerns to our community members who live in the existing buildings. But partly because of that state level work and all of the conversations that happened in that work group and elsewhere, there's been a lot of rich dialogue on the implications of potential policy mechanisms for residential heat safety. So over the course of those, couple years, it became clear that if LA County were to move forward with a policy, especially if it were focused on existing buildings, we'd need to be really thoughtful about how to mitigate for any potential unintended consequences, and thinking beyond just, potential GHG impacts, also thinking about things like tenant displacement. So in 2024, the board followed up to the initial motion and report by directing the Department of Public Health, my office, and other relevant county departments to collaborate on developing such a policy, including by engaging the range of stakeholders that would be impacted by it and figuring out how it could be implemented and enforced. The 2024 motion included a lot of specifics that I haven't listed on the slide, such as the idea of effectuating the policy through the health and safety code, as well as incorporating anti-displacement measures. Next slide. The policy development work is still underway, and this slide outlines just a few key proposed provisions. The timeline for that, policy development and adoption has been pushed back a few times, and I will be straightforward that it has been disrupted by some of the unrelated challenges that we're experiencing in the region, such as the LA fires. But the current goal is to have the board vote on adoption before the end of this summer. Next slide. So since last year's board motion, the county departments involved with policy development have identified and or developed a whole suite of supportive conditions and services that can help support the policy's success, some of which are kind of listed or alluded to on this slide. For example, the county had separately made a decision to establish a rental housing habitability program, which will inspect rental housing for a wider range of habitability issues, and that can be part of the enforcement mechanism and looking at cooling features. Additionally, in the wake of the pandemic, the county had decided to establish a variety of renter protections and that can help prevent displacement. And our Department of Consumer and Business Affairs has developed services to support renters, such as through legal assistance. An equitable building decarb project that our BayREN is implementing in our region. That project will support cooling upgrades in some of the types of buildings that will be covered by the ordinance. So that's another, sort of supportive factor here, though that program isn't really funded at a scale that can cover all of the rental households in unincorporated areas. But I just wanted to kind of summarize some of the examples of things that we believe will be really valuable to the long-term success of the ordinance. Next slide. Oh, one more item to mention here is that we were able to work with the Clean Power Alliance, our local community choice aggregator, to allocate some funding toward rebates for energy efficient air conditioners. So, this is something that renters can take advantage of directly. And there are mechanisms for supporting the ordinance's effectuation, both from the landlord level as well as from the renter level. Next slide. And we're excited for this policy to move forward, but we know that this policy, which again is focused on renters in existing buildings in unincorporated areas, really only addresses a portion of the issue of indoor heat safety. So we're also exploring complementary policy changes. I've had the opportunity to participate in a work group set up to develop proposals for the International Code Council around building standards for new construction that would be similar to the concept that HCD looked into of essentially a maximum temperature for the new construction. And I will say that participating in that work group has been a deeper dive into building codes than I even ever imagined. And sometimes a lot of it goes over my head. But I had the opportunity to testify at an ICC hearing last year, and it's been a really interesting learning opportunity. So keep an eye out for these things potentially being in the ICC in the 2027 cycle. Next slide. We're also developing a county heat action plan that will be much more broadly aimed at ensuring that our communities and ecosystems can thrive in the face of rising temperatures and more extreme heat. And we'll look at actions we can take across a number of realms. We're looking at changes that can be made in the outdoor built environment, improvements to our heat emergency response, in addition to a range of indoor heat safety measures. And we're tentatively structuring it according to the 3 goals listed on this slide. And goal 2 is really the one that's all about indoor spaces, including, of course, renter households. But we're also looking, for example, at other types of, in particular, sensitive facilities. That could include nursing homes or that kind of thing. So we're looking at, how can we support changes in policy around new construction and building upgrades, and potentially strengthening our own cool roof ordinance, other measures that can support sort of maximum passive cooling, upgrading county facilities that serve sensitive populations, and also supporting community facilities with accessing resources to upgrade. So this plan is also still in development, and we're aiming for finalizing it in late this year, essentially. But again, hoping to develop a whole suite of policies and programs that can help us to prevent the negative health impacts that we're already seeing and can expect to get worse if we don't take action. And I believe that brings me to the end of my slides. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allie.